Hi, my name is Genevieve Trainer. I grew up in Boise, Idaho. I work as a producer and main host of a radio show called CinemaScope for the NPR affiliate KSFR in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I'm also an actor and a PR and marketing professional. As the primary host and producer of CinemaScope, I'm responsible for ensuring that we have a complete calendar of guests who are scheduled. I work with guest hosts for the show. They record one episode per month, so I make sure that they have everything that they need. And I'm also responsible for the strategy of the show. So, what's important to me for CinemaScope is that we are providing compelling content that helps demystify the film industry and compelling content for those who work inside the industry as well as those who don't work in the industry who are curious to learn more about it. So we really try to make sure that we're providing valuable content for listeners in all of the conversations that we have. In terms of the technical aspects of the show, I use very, very simple recording equipment. We don't necessarily need a professional sounding radio show because we feel that the content is the most important thing. We of course want it to be as quality as possible from an audio perspective, but honestly, we don't spend a whole lot of time on that aspect. I went to college for public relations and political science. I was also an actor on the side in pursuing my day job endeavors. I had an experience growing up. I survived pediatric epilepsy. I had grand mal seizures, and I remember when I had my first seizure at school, I was in kindergarten, and my classmates didn't know anything about epilepsy, and they thought I had died when I had this massive seizure at school. Nobody really knew anything. Parents were a little bit afraid of their kids seeing me and thinking that I had died. So my mom had organized for a puppet group. She found this out of town epilepsy puppet group that came in and did a puppet show for my kindergarten class. And I remember just seeing the power of visual communication at that point and of storytelling. And so that's really what got me started in the film industry. And as I mentioned earlier, of course, that my experience hosting CinemaScope it's really out of passion and out of purpose for the film industry. Just this past year, I quit a rather intense public relations job. I was a public relations VP for a very intense, really an intense environment. And while I got a lot out of it, doing that for a long time, and acting and going to auditions on the side, or during the pandemic doing self tapes, at midnight or 2 a.m. because I had followed this different, safer path, became too much for me. And while I really appreciate that experience, I wished I had learned a lot sooner as a high schooler or college person, that, really, fighting for your own path is important. In terms of my high school experience, as I mentioned, I grew up in Boise, Idaho. I was very fortunate to go to a really good public high school in Boise that valued the arts, that just had a really wide range of students and of programs. And I participated in the drama program, which at the time anyway was one of the best drama programs in the country. And I really felt at home with the people. I wasn't this theatrical person, but I felt like I was with people who were, kind of like-minded. They were creative, kind of like me, or they accepted people as they were. And that became really important to me. It molded a lot of my experiences later on in terms of, I guess, just having hopefully less judgment of others and what they were going through. I would say that was really an important lesson that stuck with me throughout the years, way beyond high school. In terms of specific coursework, in addition to drama, there were a lot of programs that my high school offered, such as environmental science, legal classes. So those absolutely informed my career choices later on in going into public relations as well as political science. So those were really important. I think, obviously what happens in high school shapes the way you look at the world and later on in life, and all of those lessons that kind of just creep up when you're not expecting it later on, that you sometimes tie back to experiences you had in high school. I am trying to learn to accept what I've perceived for years as my weaknesses. I'm trying to just sit with them and let them be. And that is with many thanks to a casting director. I took an advanced actors course with probably 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the things that she said is that often what we perceive as our greatest weakness is often something that is our greatest strength, if we let it, if we learn to embrace that. Stop letting that voice in your head tell you that you have to fight your weaknesses and that your weaknesses are somehow shameful. And maybe they're not even weaknesses. Maybe it's just other people. Maybe it's society telling you their weaknesses. And, 10 years later, we'll find out that's not a weakness at all. That's a strength. So hopefully that helps.